Greetings, dear listener. You're listening to the Jaunty Mantis podcast. This is Jesse,
This is Maddie.
and we are presenting to you today a special bonus episode.
True
Why?
story.
Yeah, why do we do these?
Well, the Jaunty Mantis is released in seasons, 12 episodes per. And the reason for that is so we have time to take a breather, get extra recordings done, make sure we don't fall behind. So if you're listening to this, that means that we're in between seasons.
We made it.
So we'll be back soon. And until then, enjoy this episode, this bonus episode. It's not necessarily about role-playing game topics, but it is very nerd adjacent.
And we hope you enjoy it.
Yep.
Yeah, so what have you been up to in Baldur's Gate?
Oh God, not sleeping. That's for damn sure. I don't know how much I went into this in our past episode, but you're hearing this again because I told our D&D group about it. But for the last couple of weeks, I've only been getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night, and my phone has started sending me warning messages about, hey, are you okay, dude? And I just was like turning those settings off. Fuck you. Stop trying to save my life. What is this pain in my chest? So so I have been playing a ton of Baldur's Gate 3. Just an absolute shit ton of it. And I thought it'd be cool to kind of just a check in about some of the weird fun shit we've done so far in the game. And how has your adventure been going so far in Faerun?
Well, we didn't talk about it on the podcast, but I told you about this, but I'm going to tell it for the podcast.
Do it.
So there was the statue stealing incident.
Let's hear it.
So I have a multiplayer game going with my buddy Mark, one of my college roommates. Good dude. And he's running a little rogue, and I'm running a dragonborn paladin.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got to the Emerald Enclave, and we, the whole tension. I'm just like, hey, I know what we can do. We can just steal the statue. I've got this potion of invisibility. I'll give it to you. You steal the statue and then immediately drink the potion of invisibility, and it'll be fine. It immediately goes pear-shaped. They spot him stealthing in. He doesn't have time to drink the potion before combat ensues. I'm getting attacked. We have the statue. We fight the 4 druids doing the ritual. A cutscene triggers.
Uh-oh.
Where a cutscene triggers where like Kagra, I guess, sends a mental thought of like it's time, and there's an animated movie of like a druid beating the skull of a tiefling in with an iron tipped staff. I'm just, okay, that's weird how that happened. So the combat ends, we've got the statue, and I'm looking around like, where are the bears? Where are the druids that were guarding the path down here? There's that little stone bunker next to the ritual circle. We go in there. There's no one in there except the one bird that was hurt still on the table. So,
right.
I killed that. And
of course.
And then we walk back out, and we're going to go back up the path. And I start noticing the combat text is flashing up with like Kagra casts heat metal. I'm like, what? Are we being attacked? We weren't. We start walking up that path, and that's when we start finding the bodies, because what has happened is the druids have gone after the tieflings, and we encounter like the last 8 tieflings holed up bunker style and being overwhelmed by the druids in that room where the goblin prisoner is, fighting desperately for their lives. There's 3 bears that are guarding the door. They come back after us. We fight through. We kill Kagra. By the time we rescue him, there's like 4 tieflings left. Zelvor, or whatever his name is, dead. All the druids are dead. It's just terrible. And so I'm poking around and exploring, and I find that there is a secret passage that goes from the back of that prison room all the way to the druid. And they had just run through there and popped out to kill all the tieflings because we stole the statue. And I was like utterly horrified by what we had caused. And So, having a fit of conscience, we looted every corpse, but now
Of
have nowhere to
course.
sell it. you know.
Yeah, that's right.
And so next on the menu is we're going to go kill everyone in the goblin camp.
Oh God, that's so fun. We
And then
should probably go ahead.
we got that second session. And do you know about the spider dungeon under the goblin camp?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're in there now.
Oh man, that's so fun. Yes. Yeah, I think we should state full spoilers for
Yes.
this.
Well, I
So,
mean, I've done the same first three arcs of Act One over and
mm,
over and over, and that's as far as I've progressed.
I am in Act 3. I have gotten to Baldur's Gate, and
Okay.
I it's like on the hour, every hour I want to start over again. Just because, like I said in our previous one, I've been save scumming the shit out of this game, but but my only takeaway is that from that experience is like, whatever way you're playing the game and having fun is the correct way in my opinion. But I for all my future playthroughs, I want to do like my next playthrough. I'm already thinking about it. I'm already like what class I'm going to play, what I'm going to do, all this shit. And not in the story, but like the actions that my character wants to explore the second time around. And I want to do a consequences playthrough, no fucking reloads, no save scumming, because this game is so amazing at just allowing you to make whatever choices that need to be made. And then you don't the game isn't like giving you a negative consequence or a positive consequence. It's just giving you consequences, so you can just fully progress through the game, even the situation you're in. Like, you didn't get a message that was like, well, the druids are dead, or the tieflings are dead, the druids killed them, game over. Like, you now have to play the rest of the game, and so I that's what made me think of what I want to do next, is hearing about your little misadventure.
The
you know.
other cool thing I did with my most recent start over is I I made a cleric of the knowledge domain, a blue dragonborn cleric of Tiamat,
Mm-hmm.
and we go past the Cambion mind flayer fight on the ship, and I command the Cambion to drop his flaming sword, and he
Nice.
does. I make it first time. I was totally going to save scum it. I didn't have to. He
Nice.
failed the saving throw, drops it, run in, pick up the sword, go activate the helm. Whatever, we're out. I've got the sword. The moment we get withers, I respec into warlock and then bind that fucking thing as my pact blade. So now I'm like, the blade of the frontier. You ain't shit, man.
Yeah,
I
that's
stole this sword from a devil in hell.
that's right. You've already outdone him at his own shtick. Have you, like, because my character that I'm currently playing right now is a cleric of the life domain. So I had no use for Shadowheart throughout most of my playthrough, which led to the ridiculous ease in the romance section with her. I had no trouble in the romance options because I was just like, I just ask her stuff, and then she was like, I don't want to talk about it. I'm like, cool, you stay back at the camp. But then I found that I really needed a bard, so I used Withers to respec her into a bard, and she is just awesome. Just fucking bards are so ridiculously overpowered in this game. It's so fucking awesome. Like, all the shit you can do with them. And I have respect a couple of other characters. Are you in Act 2 yet? Well, how far?
No.
You're still in Act 1. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I
there's
haven't.
a
I haven't. The furthest I progress is my game where I took Berdine and put him in, and he is like in the back chambers of the Goblin camp, looking for the prisoners to free Volo because I feel bad about getting him locked up for interrupting his song.
Speaking of Volo, you talked about I want to talk about this specifically. I made a note to come back to this. So you got an eye change out from the witch, or the hag, I should say. Uh
Oh yeah,
I have now done that part, but it didn't go down for me the way that you described it. It was way worse. So
Oh,
I want
I kind
I
of
want to
left
hear
some
about it
stuff
now.
out.
Yeah.
So, no, we made the deal. She's like, I can get that thing out of your head, but you'll have to just let me take your eye out. I'm like, seems fair.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like a reasonable request. She's like, I'll need my real fingers for this. Turns into her horrid hag form.
Oh my God,
Does the whole
yes.
thing. I get a couple chance to stop her or to strike, and I'm just like, no, just go for it. So she plucks my eye out, does some stuff, shoves it back in. It's all green and milky now. And apparently I have disadvantage on attack rolls against hags. Like,
But what did
as
it
a
give
result,
you?
huh?
What did it give you?
Disadvantage on attack rolls against hags. Like I can't fight her now. Like,
Oh wow. See, I didn't
yeah.
even get that option. She didn't even offer that to me on my playthrough. So I had to get involved in that whole mess and go deep into her lair. And that is some of the freakiest shit I have ever seen. Not in a video game in general, because there's horror games out there, but this was so effective. Like, she is terrifying. The
Yeah, no, the
hag
whole
is terrifying.
have you had the whole thing? I'm sure you have, but you go into the swamp and
Yes.
you make the investigation check and
Mm-hmm.
see what's really there.
Well, I drank out of the well and then found out what was really there. Did you drink out
Have
of the well?
No, I haven't. Have you talked to the frog with speak animals?
Yes, I did.
That
I
frog's
did.
fucking lethal.
Yeah, that frog is insane. Yeah. There's a part where you can drink this very sweet smelling water out of the well, and then it reveals the swamp for what it actually is, and that there's dead bodies in the well. And then you become nauseous. It's and then I had to go deep into the hag's lair, and there was all this like fucked up shit down there, and I was just terrified. Like, I went in through that whole, I don't want to spoil it, but like, I went through that whole, for you, for the audience I do, but I went through that whole experience just kind of like on pins and needles, because like the story elements that were shown to me about the hag scared the crap out of me, the person behind the keyboard.
Yep.
So yeah, but uh speaking of eye related stuff, I did let Volo poke out my eye.
Oh, I didn't know that was an option.
Yeah, sorry to spoil that for you. He'll offer it. Well, I don't know. Maybe he won't, because you already got an eye replaced. Maybe you can get that one removed.
Yeah, that'd be great because I have disadvantage against hags
Like,
now.
I will say this, he clearly does not know what he's doing.
I've gotten that impression about him.
Yeah.
Um, I was looking something up just thinking about this because one of the things I found, because I've never really paid much attention to the different things in 5e, but there's a feature that came up for my knowledge priest. I'm like, oh, this is actually legit good. So I wanted to see what it was like in the tabletop game.
Mm-hmm.
Channel divinity knowledge of the ages.
Hmm.
Starting at second level, you can use your channel divinity to tap into the divine well of knowledge. As an action, you choose one skill or tool. For 10 minutes, you have proficiency with that chosen skill or tool. So the way it works in the game is you pick like a suite of related skills like persuasion, intimidation, blah, 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 and you get proficiency with those through your next long rest.
Interesting.
So, but I'm like, that's really good. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
I
there's a
just
lot
know
of stuff.
things.
There's a lot of stuff that's really good. But that is awesome. Have you heard about the Dorian Gray thing?
No.
I just watched this Taliesin and Evitel video where I think they coined the term for this. Uh, I don't know. But anyway, do you know what the spell of warding bond is? You know it because in our regular 5e game, my cleric was trying to use it on your character, the fighter.
Yeah.
It so in 5e, this in the tabletop version, you get resistance to all damage, you get a bonus to saving throws, bonus to armor class, and then the caveat is that as long as you stay within 60 feet of each other, the caster takes half the damage that the or portion of the damage that that the person you cast the spell on takes. So my plan was to use that with Berdine because as a fighter, I figured he'd be up in combat and he'd be able to tank and take a lot of damage.
Yeah, it's appreciated.
What I didn't count on was that spell was ultimately going to be useless because some of our party has a very astute penchant for uh, damaging the party. So like taking friendly fire to Berdine, the fighter, and then my guy also getting it, although thematically for the storyline makes sense, is not good. Is not a good use of that spell.
No,
But
keep doing it because I'll need that when I resolve that issue.
okay. So anyway, warding bond in Baldur's Gate 3 does not have that 60 feet limitation on it. So what they figured out was, or somebody figured out was, that you take a character you don't like that you're going to leave at camp and you know they're going to leave at camp. You have Withers, respec them into a cleric. They cast it on the person and then stay at camp and take half the fucking damage that person takes while they're out on adventures. And in the video, Taliesin was like, yeah, use this on Lae'zel because it's Lae'zel and nobody likes Lae'zel. And I was like, I love Lae'zel. Like, what like, what do you think of this character? The Githyanki interdimensional alien who's like really racist, but only at first.
I mean, she's got her thing she's doing, and her life has been a lot harsher than everybody else. She's has some unprocessed trauma. She just really wants to ride a red dragon. I mean, like straightforward.
I love all
I don't
the characters.
know much about the Gith. Like
this game teaches you a lot about them. Yeah. Yeah, that's usually not a monster or race or a species that you encounter until like level 12 or 15.
I mean, they ride dragons as mounts, so you like.
Yeah, no, Lae'zel is a very complicated character, and I love all the characters in this game, and that's one of my biggest problems. Is like I don't like leaving them at camp because I love learning about who they are, and Lae'zel's story has been very appealing to me. I've been very sympathetic to like how she grew up and how she's changed over the course of like knowing me and the group. And I just think she gets a shitty bad rap from people who are jokingly like, she's an unrelatable character. I'm like, good. I like unrelatable characters. I want to learn something.
Speaking of unrelatable characters, in your playthrough, have you encountered the Dark Urge?
I have not. What is the darker? Well, that's one of your options in the beginning as an origin.
Yeah, so I wondered if it was out there as an NPC. Have you tried a Dark Urge, like just playing around?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Is this like the evil playthrough?
You don't have to be evil, but it's he's got some urges that are dark, and they influence conversation options. And I went up to the squirrel, in the Emerald Enclave, the one that bites you and like chatters, and I'm just like, oh, it's so cute. I think the narrator actually like, it's so cute. It's the most twee thing you've ever seen. And then you smile, and then my character just kicked the thing and killed it. Like I didn't even choose to do it. I just did it, like grinning the whole time, like because he's the Dark Urge. So, I suggest giving that a try to be horrified by your own self. And now I kind of want to do that. I've heard there is a mushroom in the Underdark that lets you cure lost memories, and he doesn't remember where he came. I mean, that's like half the party. He's like, I don't remember what happened. So,
who's your go-to crew? What's your party in your single player experience? Like, who do you got on your home team?
The home team is Gale, Astarion, and Shadowheart.
Fucking love Gale. That's another character people don't like, and I don't understand why.
He's so charming.
Yeah,
and smart.
He's like the Christopher Lambert Highlander mixed with something, and I can't quite put my finger on what he's like a combination of. But he is so fun to play, and I just love letting him prattle on. And the shit he says in combat is fucking hilarious. And I have him. I have this issue where I keep wanting to cycle out different members of the party, so I've respec them a couple of times, even in their normal class, back into their normal class to include a feat, the skilled feat or whatever, so that they also have like sleight of hand because I want to disarm traps and pick locks and shit. So multiple characters in my playthrough have sleight of hand very at a very at the trained level or whatever, and he's one of them. And so when I go have him pick the lock, he goes, "This seems like something a spell should be used for."
Can he do it with his mage hand?
I have no idea. I haven't tried that yet. That's a great idea.
One of the
Wow.
things I heard about mage hand is like enemies will go after it. So if
Hmm.
you need a little sheet, you can throw up your mage hand like out in their face and they'll waste a turn going after your mage hand instead of you.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
That's amazing because I just found a magic item that lets me cast Mage Hand as a bonus action. So I will have to put that item on Gale. Uh, Definitely. My current team is is Gale, Karlak, who's the Tiefling Barbarian, and then a character you haven't encountered yet that doubles up on a class you'll have no matter what. So I respect that character into a dual wielding paladin, and that character tanks the fuck out of combat for me. So that's the current team I have now because I needed a charming person, I needed a wizard, and I needed Karlak because the thing with Karlak is once you realize that the Berserker Barbarian can throw people, that toothpaste does not go back in the tube. Like Lae'zel was my go-to. She was always in my group. She's a combat powerhouse. I love that character. I love what's happened. And she just sits on the sidelines now because Karlak is like, I got into this fight where because I have her up to a 22 strength right now. So with items and whatnot. So I was in a fight where there were guys on the rafters shooting crossbows down at us, and she was, while raging, picking up other guys and then throwing them all the way up to the rafters and fucking knocking these archers either prone or off the rafters. And that's the first thing I did once I respected, is because I wanted to see what the options are, because that's what I've been doing, is like seeing what the different types of their subclasses are. And I was like, this character is going to be in my group for the rest of the fucking game. This is way too much fun.
Well, just on a side note, I took a ride down to a game store today because they were having like some deals for their official opening weekend. So if you are in Norman, Oklahoma, faithful listeners, check out DM Dave's. It's a great little shop. They have probably the best selection of RPG books, like probably in the state, like probably in the tri-state area, like it's fantastic. I love it. The creator is a great guy, or the owner is a great guy. But my buddy has not played Baldur's Gate 3. And hello, Chris. I know you're a listener, so I'm talking about you again. He said he was talking about how all of his players in his like 5-year running D&D campaign, have all been playing Baldur's Gate 3, so now they're all like casting guidance for like every skill check they make.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I was thinking about that like as a thing for actually like in the rules. Like, so what is that? Like, do you just be like, say a prayer for me, Father, or just like, oh, I'll say a quick prayer for this person as they do it? What's the way to do it that's not just like I cast guidance?
Uh, the way I would do it is that it's always in effect as long as you're within X amount of feet of the caster. So it's a permanent cast that they put on themselves, and you can make it as a part of like a morning ritual or prayer after a long rest. That if you really want to make it thematic, I mean, it's a cantrip, so you can cast it as many times as you want. So really,
Yeah.
the only limiting factor, because I thought about this too, is like, how can I make use of guidance in the game without constantly announcing that I'm casting it? Because in our 5e game, it is kind of annoying for every time someone's going to, use a skill, I have to hold myself back from being like, and guidance, I cast guidance on him. So I wanted to actually pitch this to the group is like, what if we just made it a permanent effect that is always in play, as long as that skill user is within a proper amount of distance from the character who can cast it. What do you think about that?
I think the limitation that it's concentration
Mm.
um, is meaningful, and it shouldn't be for everybody because you'd have to switch targets.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say go for like I will say a prayer for you. Like I don't. That's not as intrusive. Um,
Yeah, that's probably the best way to do it. Yeah, I forgot it was a concentration effect.
yeah, Logru will probably make you fail, but perhaps he is feeling.
That's awesome. Yeah. Have you made use of the exploding barrels?
Oh yeah,
Like the fire wine barrels?
yeah.
So they're depending on the order in which you do things, you can arrange a fucking domino style effect of fire barrels.
Have you seen the video of the party of like four shirtless like halflings like
Yeah,
doing the entire goblin layer?
where like one of them looks like George Lucas and the other one looks like I think George Soros or something, and you start to think like, was this on purpose? Like, is this like group of four naked George themed halfling barbarians? Yeah, I have seen that. Yeah,
Yeah, that inspired me. So,
did you make use of it?
I mean, I don't have the patience to set up all the barrels like that, but
I haven't done the domino effect, but I did something similar to defeat a boss where I strategically placed the barrels so that I could take out groups of them. It just depended on getting the initiative soon enough to make it work. So it didn't go off perfectly, but you know, there's definitely enough exploding barrels in this game to make that happen.
yeah, yeah,
You
cool.
sent me an image with a goat as a background. What is that in reference to?
Oh, I tried to screenshot it with a thing with it was like a Reddit post. It's like Baldur's Gate mods have gone too far, and but that text it just sent you the picture itself and not that text on it. So it was just I probably a joke mod or maybe not, where one of the
Mhm.
backgrounds is you were a goat for 10 years.
Gotcha. Well, I'm loving the game. I'm loving our little check-ins about it and the stories that come out of it. So we'll have to talk about this more in the future. Maybe,
Indeed.
you know. All right, any closing things about Baldur's Gate 3? Because I have one that's gonna shock you.
Okay, go for it.
I now care about Forgotten Realms.
I do too.
We had a episode where we reviewed the D&D movie, and I said in that episode that I don't give a shit about Forgotten Realms, and that was true up until I played this game. I now think Forgotten Realms is pretty fucking cool, and it only took this game to impress upon me the sheer scope and scale of what's happening in this universe in this setting.
And that's
So,
like you're just on the Sword Coast.
Mhm.
Like that is one, I mean, it's vast, but tiny fraction of like all the weird shit going on.
Yeah.
And you get to see, Chris was telling me this, like the Netherese, like, there's shadow magic of Netheril or whatever, which I think is where your sword for Brixley, Kazarwan was a Netherese.
Ah, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just there's all these ancient fucked up empires and he's just like that's why it's the Forgotten Realms, like when no one remembers it because like one dude tried to take control of the weave and untangled it and magic didn't work for 100 years. There's all this weird stuff out there that's just going on. So I'm glad you're liking the realms. I have liked them since 3.5 because it was a section we didn't use, but I loved those 3.5 Forgotten Realm books, the
They were
ones that were
beautiful.
printed so the covers looked like they were like stitch bound and
Yeah.
everything.
And the
Um,
pages too.
yeah,
The pages were done in a design style that made them look like aged parchment to a certain extent, and it was done in a a beautiful way. Like as far as design is concerned, like you can go too much very quickly when it comes to design in role-playing game books. And this series of books managed to pull off that nice look without making it so distracting that your eyes were bugging out of your head. So
Yeah.
just a like very well written set of books as well, you know. But not like I read them extensively because I probably would have appreciated the realms after reading that, but they were beautiful books, you know.
Yeah, and I did read. I don't say I read them extensively, but like I want to do. I in the back of my head, I have this whole idea for a Shining South campaign. There's a country called Dambrath, I think. Forgive me, Forgotten Realms lore heads who are listening. That's actually just probably you, Chris. Sorry if I got the name wrong. But there's this whole thing that uh like the Drow just marched out of the Underdark one day and took over the country, like took over the whole
Interesting.
country, and then the half Drow Sentry, Cintri, are now like the rulers on the surface who just funnel wealth back to the great Drow city in the Underdark below this country. And it's just like I was like, that's neat and weird. And like the people
Mm-hmm.
there were like expert horse breeders and like sort of like Mongolian steppe cavalry people, and they just got crushed and now they serve this half Drow ruling case. And I was like, it'd be fun to do a freedom fighter game
Mm-hmm.
there, you know. Um, and then the players could be half Drow is also cool because I
Yeah.
still like the Drow.
Dude, the Drow are awesome. They have a really like disgusting kind of um aspect to their presentation, right? Like there's a lot of problematic issues around like saying like, well, the bad elves are dark-skinned elves, right? Like let's just call it for what it is. There's a whole episode of Community where they play D&D and it's like the best episode in the whole fucking series and you can't watch it because they bring this issue to light, and it got pulled off of Netflix, or at least it did the last time I was doing a watch through of Community. Like so there's a lot of problematic bullshit around the Drow, the way they were created and presented, but they evolved from that, uh and became like something that's has a very rich contribution to Dungeons and Dragons, and right down to the Drow in Eberron, which are their own kind of fucked up, weird, crazy. It's like that's kind of the theme of the Drow is like, how can we do something super fucked up, weird, crazy?
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one where I get it a little bit more. Okay, I'm not going to have that conversation because
Sorry about that.
all right,
Okay.
cool. Baldur's Gate. Go play some.
Oh yeah, go get into the realms. I know I did. I can't believe I'm eating my words on this, but you look, when I'm wrong, I'm happy to admit it. And I was wrong about Forgotten Realms. So it happened. We did it, guys.
Yay.
All right. So
I feel
get
like
out there and get into the
every other
realms.
episode of this podcast, it's like, and Maddie's heart grew 3 sizes that day.
I was a Grinch. Yeah, yeah, that's true. I was born a Grinch and now I'm a human boy.
Huzzah.
All right.
So after multiple restarts, basic Gary playthrough on Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, so I finished. You haven't finished the main Baldur's Gate 3 game, have you?
I have not gotten to Act 2.
Yeah. It's its ending sucks. The ending sucks. And the ending sucks because the whole game they give you all of these options and you're put I've only finished it one time, but one playthrough all the way through. But it was like, I'm trying not to spoil it for you, but it's like this could have easily been solved if somebody had just waited half a second to see, let's see how this plays out, And instead they're like, nope, I'm done. I'm out. See you later. And then 10 seconds later, it's like that person would have uniquely suited to solve the problem we faced. you know, and the ending was very depressing. I had romanced Lae'zel all the way through, and I spoilers for Baldur's Gate 3 people. I went full illithid. I had to for the end of the storyline. I had to do it. I fought it the whole way through. I didn't use the tadpoles at all, and then I did it at the end. Had to. And then Lae'zel was like, "You disgust me. I can't be around you anymore." And I was like, "Okay." She's like, "You remind me of everything my people hate." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then she's like, I'm gonna go off on a crusade. You can't come." I'm like, "I don't want to. You're an asshole." You know. So I mean, it was true to character. It just depressed me. Anyway, second playthrough, basic Gary.
Wait. Just hold on a second. Hold on. Because I feel like so
Mm-hmm.
Lizelle is a Githyanki
Mm-hmm.
whose entire origin and unifying cultural aspect is that they were slaves of the mind flayers and they fucking hate them.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's their whole reason for being is riding dragons, silver swords, and
Mm-hmm.
just fucking up mind flayers. And so when you continuously used the mind flayer power, you're upset that she was like, "Yeah, I want nothing to do with you."
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought we had something stronger than that, you know, because when she started in on her bullshit, they gave me the option to say, that's very insensitive of you, Lae'zel. And she said, "When have you ever known me to be sensitive?" And I was like, "Remember when we watched the sun come up together and we were holding hands? Remember
I'm
that
just
time where you told me that you wanted the egg from the creche and that they were mistreating it and that you asked me to help you like risk life and limb to get it for you?" And I did. Like, remember saving your entire people, you know? Like, I'm not saying that she has to end up with me. Like, I get it. Like, I now look exactly like everything she hates, right?
yeah.
But
And so you're saying like I saved your whole people and you friend zoned me? That's what you're
no,
mad
no, what I'm mad about is I didn't have to go full of Lithid. I'm trying so hard not to spoil this. If you've finished this game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. All right. I did not have to go full illithid, but the game, which left me numerous options at every other point leading up to this, and then in the final moment, the game is like, "No, it's I don't want to spoil it for you." Like this,
okay.
it's so difficult to like if you make it to the end of this game, you will see what I mean, unless they patch it and fix it, because it's such a fucking cop out because the character is like, "I'm not doing this. I'm out. You're stuck. Now you have no choice." And it's like, dude, if you had just stuck around for 10 seconds, like I wouldn't have to do this, you know? So that's the part I don't like. It was depressing to be treated that way by Lae'zel from a story perspective. Like I got super invested in the game and the storyline. It's like, it's like imagine watching a great TV show and at the end, these two characters who fell in love with each other. Like we were watching the sun come up, and Lae'zel says to me, "I didn't understand what the concept of love meant until right now," you know? And I'm like, this storyline is so good. Like this racist alien from another dimension, now admits that she is capable of love. Like there's a certain kind of emotional connection I have to the story. It's very beautiful, you know? And then for it all just to come screeching to a halt, like if you were watching this show, you'd be like, "God, this is difficult." If this was the last episode of like a multi-seasonal TV show and these two characters you were rooting for to fall in love that everybody was shipping and they fell in love you know, and then at the end she's like, "You're everything I hate. I can't even bear to look at you." Like, I don't know. I'm sure there are people that are like, "Just get over it. It's a fucking computer game." But like at some point, computer games are going to do better at stories than movies and TV. And I've cried at the end of shows and movies before, Star Wars Rebels being one of them. you know,
Yeah.
it's brought me to tears. It's emotional. It's very well written. Like I love a good story. So that I'm not pissed that they stayed true to the character. I'm pissed that I got put into that situation, that I got railroaded into that situation. So basic Gary.
Yeah.
So I've been so after that, I'm like, all right, I want to try it again. I want to see what's different. I want to make different choices. I want to play a more social oriented character. My main character for the first playthrough was a battle hardened old dwarf woman who had spent her entire life on the front lines of military campaigns, and then her form of retirement was seeing what the world was like before she died. That was my character that fell in love with Lae'zel. And so the second time I'm like, I'm going to play a bard like character. And for some reason, I made a character named Basic Gary. And he is balding and has a little mustache and has a really weird look on his face. And I kept him in casual mode and gave him that purple velour pajamas that Gale is wearing. So he's just like running around the game like that. And it was hilarious. The only problem was he was a terrible social character because like we would get into a fight every single time. I'm like, I'm trying to talk my way through the goblin camp. Great, now they're all dead. You know, I've tried to convince these Kuo-toa that I'm the real god. Great, now they're all dead. You know what I mean? Like every time it came up, I was like, all right, cool. So instead of talking, we're killing
is
them
a jealous god. So
yeah, well, basic Gary was a little too basic, so I had to start over. So my second attempt at a playthrough is now a 1 level of rogue, 2 levels of druid, and the rest of them I think are going to be ranger, which I've been enjoying very much. Very social character. Basic Gary, no more. Deleted.
Oh, poor basic Gary. We hardly knew him. Because he was really hard to get to know because he was not charming. He was just really.
Yeah. That's the ironic thing is I went to go make a social character and then thought it'd be funny to make the most boring. I wanted to make somebody who seemed like he just got swept up in the adventure and was kind of bumbling his way from point A to point B. And it kind of worked just a little too well. You know, because it just fucking rolled like shit on all of his fucking social checks. And then the rest of the group was like, all right, basic Gary, I guess we have to murder all these goblins because you can't do your part, you know?
That's next, by the way, for tomorrow. I think we're going to go murder all the goblins.
Oh, good. I'm glad I'm going to be around for that part because I love murdering me some goblins in Baldur's Gate 3.
Well, you know, Roscoe seems intent on it. And, you know,
yeah,
Egbert just wants to jump around in Divine Smite. So periodically breathe fire as a gold dragonborn does. My dragon paladin's name is Egbert.
It's wonderful.
Thank you.